Let your vision be your guide. But if your money be your leader, then your power be divine. Oh yeah. Oh, every people. When your people build your vision, let your teaching be on high. If your power be your leader, then your spirit heaven denied. No matter what you're trying to do, you can't deny the truth. No, and what the people choose ain't really up to you. Actions always find a way to shine brighter than the things you say. People need a healing. Let the Spirit be your guide. And when your heart pour out your blessings, then your people need a healing. Let the Spirit be your guide. And when your heart pours out your blessings, then your people magnify. No matter what you're trying to do, you can't deny the truth. No, and what the people choose ain't really up to you. Actions always find a way to shine brighter than the things you say. Can't get around it if you try.
Hi, everyone. I'm Judy Tate, the producing artistic director and co-founder of the American Slavery Project. Along with our partner, the New York Society for Ethical Culture, I want to thank you for joining us throughout the Reverberations Plays streaming series, which has been made possible by grants from the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone and Grant for Creative Communities via the New York Department of Cultural Affairs, New York State Council on the Arts, and distributed by the Lower Manhattan Cultural Council, as well as a grant provided by the Black Seed. I must acknowledge Simone Barros and Zachary Betanti, our producers of this season's enhanced audio dramas. It is their tireless audio-visual work that has brought each piece in this season of audio dramas to life, helping illustrate how American enslavement's legacy echoes into the 20th and 21st centuries. Also, I'd like to acknowledge two other people behind the scenes without whom this season would not have been possible. Young Park, our digital strategist, and Meseret Stroman Wheeler, ASP's associate producer. They work together on social media, graphics, all of those wonderful programs that you see, getting everything straight. It's so much more than the labels imply. Now, we hope that you were able to enjoy each of our plays as they premiered on ASP's website, but if you missed any of them, we've got good news for you. We have decided to make our limited series available on our website until the end of the year. Exciting, right? Through Pitchfork, you can take out a Parent Plus loan. The Haunted Files, Disunion, and Second Sight can be viewed on AmericanSlaveryProject.org with the same password from your previous Eventbrite email if you purchased tickets to any of our past events. Or, for the newcomers among us, you can RSVP to watch our shows through new links that will be provided on the website soon after our last live premiere. You can also keep up with ASP through social media. We're Am Slavery Proj, PROJ, on Instagram and Twitter, and ASP 2012 on Facebook. As always, we hope to see you again soon, and please consider donating to ASP so that we can continue creating work that educates, entertains, and illuminates. Thank you. Enjoy.
I'm not taking your money, Mavis.
My money as good as everybody else's.
Everybody think money gonna buy them what they need.
I'm paying you for your services.
Over my dead body.
Some things never change. You pushing people away when you need them most.
I don't need your business.
I drive past, ain't nobody ever in the lot.
Maybe people park down the road. Walk like you did. Here, Mavis. Take your money. Put it in the collection plate.
Today, I'm putting it right here on your table.
Why?
Because you're living in a one-room storefront. No heat, sleeping on a cot, and washing out of a face bowl.
What's it to you?
You family. Well, I got to explain that.
You work at Maxi Mart now?
On the register. So?
They pretty strict about time. If I was to read you, it would take more than your 15-minute break.
That teenage punk was stacking shelves 3 weeks ago. I dare him to say anything about me being late.
You sure?
Let me stay and pay you. It'll help you out.
Now? You want to help?
This was a bad idea. I never should have come.
You want tea? I got chamomile.
Don't like that herbal. Make me feel funny.
Where you been all this time, Mavis?
I've been right here. You supposed to be the one with the second sight. You should have known I'd stay here and wait for you.
That's what you've been doing for 12 years? Waiting for me?
What choice did I have? You're the only brother I got.
All those years I was up that hill with bars splitting my view, looking at life through a haze. I told myself, she ain't come see me 'cause she ain't down there no more. She would have climbed that hill if she stayed.
I always tried to look out for you.
She must have left. Got out that backwards-ass town with that too big church and that no-good school. Mavis would have come got me if she have stayed.
I'm here now, Georgie.
And I'm grown now, Mavis.
What do people usually get when they come here?
Depends on what kind of guidance they need.
I thought maybe you'd just look in your crystal ball and tell me about my future.
People always worried about their future.
Well, people want to know what to do next, how to make choices in life.
Most people already made their choices. By the time they sweet 16, they sowed the seeds for their entire future.
Your view don't leave much room for grace. You use all these.
Yeah.
The tarot, too?
It makes folks more comfortable having something between me and my perceptions.
Why the lights do that? People always said you had the sight. You could see things in somebody's coffee grounds or a wisp of a cloud going by. Why do people come to you?
Maybe their heart is broken and they need somebody to sop up the blood and tears. Maybe somebody died and they want to talk to them. Maybe they're lonely.
Everybody lonely.
Not everybody, but everybody need a witness, Mavis.
I don't know what that means.
You ever see one of them pictures that's meant to fool your eyes?
You mean an optical illusion?
You look at it and all you see is an old woman, but you come at it sideways and it's a beautiful lady.
Yeah.
Folks' lives be like that. That beautiful lady is in there, but they can only make out the hag.
Reverend Baxter say they should go to church.
Fire and brimstone don't help. They don't take account for the subtle lines I see. I bear witness.
This storefront been broke down forever. Boards nailed over the doorway. Then last year I see somebody in here. They painted up, hang curtains. I peek through the cracks and see it's a psychic shop. Then I see you.
Why it took you so long to come in?
I didn't know how you was gonna be.
And how am I?
You seem better.
Better than when I was 9 years old.
9 years old and angry, on top of the world one minute, scratching and screaming the next.
Something happened between being on top of the world and scratching and screaming. You leaving out the between part.
As soon as somebody walked through our door, you look at them and tell them they was born with a caul or had the cancer. Papa would pop you right across the back of your head.
How'd I know everybody ain't see what I was seeing?
If you'd have kept your mouth shut and sat still.
What do a 9-year-old boy know about keeping still? Seeing stuff made me squirm. Getting smacked for it made me mad.
You didn't have to tell Deke Wentworth he was gonna die.
As I recall, you need to split your side.
Maybe. But when he dropped dead the next day, I stopped laughing.
Couldn't help seeing what I saw.
After the funeral, you didn't have to tell Mim that Papa was drinking whiskey down at Deke's bar.
Well, he was.
And that he'd be home as soon as he got out of Mrs. Wentworth's bed.
I saw it in her coffee grounds.
When Papa got home, Mim gave him hell. So he started out on her and finished up on you.
Don't remember specifically. One got to be just like the other.
Dr. Lyon said you had the bipolar. That's why they give you that medicine, to calm you down, even you out.
It don't even you out if you ain't got bipolar in the first place. They should have got somebody to talk to me.
Ain't nobody could talk to you about nothing. Dr. Lyon said...
Dr. Lyon give out baby shots and lollipops. I needed somebody else.
Well, they ain't been a shrink in this county for 20 years, except up at Hilltop.
So Dr. Lyon couldn't know if I had bipolar or anything else.
You was always kicking and crying and fighting.
Fighting and fighting back are two different things. Somebody needed to fight back. You wouldn't. Mim wouldn't.
If Mim had fought Pawpaw, who knows what he would have done.
So instead, she drank herself to death and left us without nobody to take care of us. That better?
Reverend Baxter said he'd make sure you got taken care of.
That's where you been all this time? With Reverend Baxter?
Don't say it like it leave a bad taste in your mouth.
It do.
Reverend Baxter been good to me. He was the only one with signed them guardian papers.
Is that why you here now, Mavis? He asked you to come.
You kidding? When I told him about this place, his blood boiled. He warned me not to come here. Said it was the devil's workshop. I'm here because I wanted to see you.
Even though Reverend Baxter think I'm the devil.
You do make people uncomfortable.
You?
No.
You ever ask yourself, why Georgie gone so long? Where he at?
Every day. I wasn't trying to forget about you. Reverend Baxter said you was in foster care.
What kind of foster care don't let the kids leave? Don't take a field trip?
I don't know, Georgie. All I know is I didn't come here to fight with you. There's been enough fighting in our lives already. Read me my cards, Georgie. Please.
Sit down.
What you doing?
Cleansing the space for spirit to move through.
Like when you and me used to have make-believe seances. Remember? Couldn't do it till Mim and Pawpaw left the house. I'd pull out Mim's good shawl, make a turban, put her good cloth on the table. We'd take turns being the medium. We'd light up Mim's nasty cigarettes and cleanse the space to receive the spirit. I haven't thought about that in years. I love that game.
That was make-believe, Mavis. This real life. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Cut the deck from left to right. Shuffle them. Pick a card.
The fool? Is this supposed to be me?
You pick the card.
Look like he's stepping off that cliff.
You starting on the journey, Mavis Sears?
I don't go by Sears no more. I go by Baxter ever since he took me in.
This the card of a new relationship, Mavis Baxter.
Maybe that's you and me, Georgie. Like how it seems we worlds apart right now. Maybe we the new relationship. Maybe I'm a fool for coming here, but look at the card. The sun is shining and the fool got a white flower in his hand.
The card's upside down.
Meaning?
Things ain't always what they seem.
Upside down or not, it looks like a peace offering to me.
Wasn't your fault I got sent up the hill and you got sent to a good home. You got a roof over your head and a brand new name. The 5 of Cups is sitting in your spread. It's what crosses you. What's that about?
You tell me. Kinda look like sorrow.
Reverend Baxter love you, Mavis?
Of course he did.
He love you too well.
That ain't the cards talking, George. That's you.
You ain't gotta be clairvoyant to know the good Reverend Baxter keep a tender place in his heart. For the young and unfortunate.
It wasn't like that. He gave me a home, George, and I didn't make a fuss.
Nope. You never made a fuss, Mavis. Still don't. Just swallow everything the world hand out.
That's not true.
They got you working overtime at Maximart, but they don't pay you any extra. You working full-time on a part-time job. You can't even scratch together $20 out of a week's pay to buy yourself something. They promote that boy over you, and even though you've been there way longer than him, you ain't said a thing. You got a cavity in your head that's damn near ready to explode, but you so afraid to make a fuss, you don't tell them, hire me like you supposed to. Write my name on a full-time roster so I can get some coverage and see the dentist to get this rot out my damn tooth.
How you know about all that?
Nope. Mavis is, Baxter was always a good girl. Never made a fuss. Pull another card, Mavis.
I'ma pull the next one for you. I want to know what happened up on that hill make you so mean.
You could have come up and seen for yourself. Water boiling. I got honey. You want honey?
No. I want to know who that little boy is. What are these coins in the window?
They mean money.
What money got to do with you up on that hill?
Maybe this card talking about what I was worth. $500,000 over the years by my count.
Worth? To who?
The company that owned Hilltop. Company called Global.
That's a big company.
What you know about it?
I saw a brochure when I was cleaning up Reverend Baxter's office. They call it a Fortune 500 company. He owns stock.
I should have known he was making money off of sick kids.
Hilltop looked nice, like everybody having a good time. Looked like a day camp.
Believe me, it wasn't no camp.
You been up at Hilltop this whole time?
No. After the first treatment, I got sent to a foster family. They schooled me at home. Jesus was the #1 subject. They said, pray to Jesus for your sin. I didn't think Jesus was doing much praying for me, so I refused. They pushed me to my knees. I punched them and kicked them, so the foster family didn't want me no more. They sent me back to Hilltop. I stayed at Hilltop till they found a second home. Second home told me, spare the rod and spoil the child. I knew all about that already, so I ran away. Sheriff picked me up and sent me back to Hilltop. This time they say Respital wasn't enough. Seemed like I was on whatever they found.
How many times you get sent back to Hilltop?
So many I lost count. When no family wants you and you gotta stay at Hilltop, that's when they start making money.
Wait, that don't make no sense.
They stamp your chart beyond medical necessity, and the day rate kick in. It's what they charge the state to keep you.
How you know that?
The nurses talk all about it. It's where your Reverend Baxter sent me, and they making a shitload of money off of kids nobody won't take.
Maybe Reverend Baxter ain't no saint, but...
Fuck your Reverend Baxter. He a phony grifter, and he sold my life to that company. I went up there and learned how people turn something should have been good, like helping sick kids, into something ugly and hurtful. Know what them drugs do to a little boy? They give him titties. And even if you change the medicine, they don't go away. What you think happens in foster care to a little boy with titties? You think it easy? You think anybody want to take care of him? Protect him? Love him? If all you came for was to find out where I've been, now you know. I read your cards, and now you know what happened up on that hill.
We not done here yet.
You got your $20 worth.
We ain't pulled but 3 cards.
Why, Mavis? Why you gotta do this?
You my brother.
We had 9 years together. Don't pretend we got more than what we got.
We got Mim and Pawpaw between us. We got a past together.
What you want from me, Mavis?
I want the brother I used to know to stand here and tell me what he see.
You really think I hear dead folks whisper in my ear? That I read folks' future because it come natural to my mind?
Everybody know it, George. You the only one around here got the second sight.
What if you wrong? What if it ain't about having second sight? What if it about keeping my eyes open and following the terrain? All the time. Everywhere. Seeing things most people too comfortable to notice.
But you know what people thinking and feeling before they say it. You told Deke Wentworth he was gonna die.
Death got a smell to it. Sickly sweet. That what Deke Wentworth smell like.
But you know about my abscess.
Your breath tell me something rotten in your mouth. And you keep touching your swole up cheek. I know you ain't been to a dentist because Maximart don't give dental.
The lights. You make the lights go on and off when you talking about spirit.
I get my electricity from the restaurant out back. When their lights go on, mine go off. One thing I learned up on that hill is you use what you got and charge people for it.
That ain't the lesson you brought down from that hill.
How would you know?
Because using people for your own gain ain't you.
You don't know me no more?
I believe in you, and I need you. I need you as much as I ever needed anybody.
Except Reverend Baxter, right?
This about you and me, George. Why you keep trying to make it him?
The man ain't who you think he is.
Why you say that? We gonna pull the next card and see what spirits say. This card feel just like that night, George.
The night Reverend Baxter sent me away.
Like lightning split our world in two. A big boat come down on our house and sent fire shooting out our windows.
Wasn't fire, Mavis. It was that sunset yellow wallpaper Mim had hung. I remember sitting in the back of that car looking at that yellow wallpaper when I heard the woman say into the walkie-talkie, "Holes, Jimmy. This family's trailer is full of holes." Somebody's voice cracked on the other end. "What you mean, holes?" "In the walls, Jimmy. In the floor, in the doors, in the cabinets, holes everywhere."
I never thought of our walls like that.
Sometimes it takes a stranger to point out obvious things. I'm sitting in that squad car when they wheel out the gurney with Paw Paw under a sheet. I stare at his outline a minute, then my eyes go back to the walls, and it's as if they all start appearing. Holes. Fist size, knee size, head size, boot size. There might actually be more holes in the walls than plaster. It must have taken all my 9 years for Paw to put that many holes in our walls. With my head, my back, my shoulders, my elbows. When they wheeled him away, I saw one more hole. But this was smaller. It was the hole a bullet made after it passed through Paw's skull. And that's why they sent me up the hill.
You were just a boy. Tell me what I can do to make it up to you.
You think pulling some cards together gonna change what happened between you and me? You can't give me back my childhood.
Let me try.
No, Mavis, it ain't your job.
Ma'am and Pawpaw didn't know what they was doing. And they messed up way. They was just trying to turn you into a good boy.
But I was a good boy, Mavis. You ain't got to have second sight to know you ain't supposed to give drugs like that to a boy. You supposed to ask a boy what he see and why he's so mad. You supposed to ask his ma'am and his Pawpaw why they don't ever see the good things he can do. Why they don't ever say nothing nice to him or put his pictures on the kitchen door. Why instead they decorate the walls with holes made by the back of his head. You supposed to take time to find out where he hurt at and why. You supposed to hold him till he quiet. Hold him till he ain't afraid no more.
Seeing Pawpaw hurt you like that night after night broke my heart.
Know what broke mine? Coming out of fog and being told I killed my own father. Left my sister down in that town with nobody to take care of her.
One last card.
Then what, Mavis? You gonna leave again? Come back in another 13 years?
It depends on what it tell me to do.
You late from your break. You ain't afraid of getting fired?
Maybe I'll let him. Maybe I'll tell that manager just what I think of his arrogant, narrow ass.
Stop lying, Mavis. Just stop it.
What you talking about?
You've been lying since you walked through that door, and I've given you every chance in the world to come clean.
What you think I'm lying about?
You lying about wanting to share what you got with me, about how good you think Reverend Baxter is. You lying about why you ain't climbed that hill all these years. Worst of all, you lying to yourself.
George!
You ain't got that job no more. They fired you because you've been late every day for weeks.
Why ain't you said you knew when I first walked in?
I'm not here to do tricks for you. It's not my job to tell you what you trying to keep secret.
But if you knew...
When you walked in here, I said to myself, this is a woman in pain. But I didn't know if you was ready for me to know how much pain you was in. So I shared mine with you so you know what it feels like to bear witness.
I don't get how you talking about your pain is for me.
I've been trying to wake up what's inside you, Mavis. Be a witness for your spirit. I'm not talking to spirit for my own sake. I made my peace a long time ago.
I'm sick, George.
I know.
How could I walk in here after all these years and ask you to help me?
You're very sick, Mavis. It ain't just the abscess in your tooth. That rot is everywhere. In your mouth, in your throat, in your lungs. It's all over your body.
Reverend Baxter told me to pray on it. I done that, but I just feel worse.
Ain't no healing gonna come out of his church. You being eaten alive.
It's the cancer.
It's the lion.
Am I gonna die, George? Please, tell me if I'm dying.
Yes. You dying. This the card of paradox, Mavis. It means you're gonna die, but it also means you're gonna live.
That don't make no sense.
I know, but that's how the world work. When I got sent to Hilltop for the umpteenth time, when ain't no foster family want me, I ain't seen you in years, ain't been to a school regular enough to know a damn thing, and I was on so many drugs I didn't even recognize my own mind. I tore up my sheet, tied a piece of it over a railing, and tied the other end around my neck. I jumped. The sheet got taut, and I started to choke. Then it seemed like time stopped. I heard a voice, Mim's voice. She said, there's just a thin veil between this world and the next. She told me to let go of everything, my hate, my fear, my angry fire. If I promised to let go, she'd send somebody through the veil to help me. It wasn't until that moment that I started to live.
I don't understand.
That night, one of the nurses called me to him. He said he knew who I was. He knew what I was. He said he was a brujo, like his father before him. He had second sight. Every night he talked to me. He taught me how to walk in the world. He was my witness. I can be your witness, Mavis.
I needed a home, George. And Reverend Baxter offered me one. I didn't care what he wanted in return. I would do anything for a chance to live in a house that smelled like lilacs. I felt like I had to grab that chance and hang on to it with every last inch of my will.
You should have been letting go.
I heard Reverend Baxter talking to the sheriff. I heard him tell the sheriff that I'd said you did it, that you'd shot Paw Paw. I hadn't said that at all, but I let the lie stand. I wanted that home, George, more than I wanted anything else.
I know,
Why he need to send you away so bad?
'cause I could see the blood on his hands.
He got blood on his hands.
Thick. Dripping off like he just finished butchering up a hog.
I guess you had to tell him.
I didn't know no better. Every Sunday I told him he needed to wash his hands. He got mad, said I needed to have the devil beat out of me. I shouldn't have been surprised when that reverend shut that squad car door and sent me up that hill.
I don't know what that blood means. Do you?
It was a long time ago, Mavis. I don't hold on to it no more. What you still holding on to? Stop holding on. The hangman says when we trying to make the world go our way, that's the time we most need to let go.
It's hard.
Let the cards help you.
On Paw Paw's last day, when I came home, I could see him through our trailer window using my little brother like he was a battering ram.
That wasn't nothing different.
I know. And that's why I went to the shed. I picked up Paw Paw's shotgun, came back to the trailer, and leaned it in that window. I could see a line from that barrel right to Paw Paw's skull. I was so tired of seeing what he did to you, so tired of being good. When I squeezed the trigger, it seemed like time stood still. That bullet left the barrel, moved right through the air. When it hit Paw Paw's skull, pieces of him went flying. Then I could hear you sobbing, so I walked around the house and sat on our front step. Reverend Baxter was the first to show up. I told him it was me, over and over. But by then you was fighting and screaming, and I could see something in Reverend Baxter's eyes, like an idea. Said he knew all about your mental illness and could make sure you was taken care of. Maybe it's 'cause you could see blood dripping from his hands, I don't know. But whatever it was, when the sheriff showed up, Reverend Baxter looked at me and put his fingers right to his lips. Then he told the sheriff it was you that shot Paw Paw. I just sat there, Georgie, like a good little girl again. He said Hilltop was the best place for you. He said his house was the best place for me.
That's good, Mavis. Get it all out.
I never spoke the truth about what happened until this very moment. I did it, Georgie. I'm the reason you got sent away to Hilltop. The reason you had the life you had. It's my fault you tied that piece of sheet around your neck. And now I'm dying for it. I came here because I wanted you to forgive me. But that's selfish. I got no right. Don't see how you could ever forgive me.
I'm your brother. We the same blood. You got the right to ask. First time I forgave you, Mavis, was after Mem talked to me on my way to dying. Then I forgave you again when I come back. And I forgave you again when you walked through that door. Forgiveness don't just happen once. It's something you gotta do again and again. The question is, you gonna forgive yourself?
I don't know.
Listen to me careful, Mavis. Whatever I got, you got. Whatever is in me, it's in you too.
Mavis? Mavis, you in here? Mavis, if you in there, open this door. I've been looking all over for you. I see your car down the road, Mavis. I could see a light in there, a candle. What you doing, Mavis?
I needed to see George. I needed to read the card.
This ain't a good idea. It's gotta be freezing in there. You come on out.
George told me all about what happened to him, all about Hilltop and how you sent him there.
It was a long time ago, Mavis, and it was for everybody's good. Come on out and we could talk about it. I know you're hurt, and I know you need to remember things. That's fine. But ain't no good could come out of this place, Mavis. No good at all.
George is good. The only truly good person I ever knew.
George is gone now, Mavis. I thought I made that clear to you. He hung himself from a third-floor railing up at Hilltop. He's gone, and he ain't coming back.
What if you wrong, Reverend Baxter? What if there's just a thin veil between this world and the next?
Come on, Mavis. Take my hand.
Your hands. Reverend Baxter, they got blood all over them.
Come home now, Mavis. Come home.
I am home. I love you, George. Always have.
I love you too, Mavis. Pick a card.
Let's turn the card together.
son be your guide. But if your money be your leader, then your power be divine. Oh yeah. Oh, every people. When your people build your vision, let your teaching be on high. If your power be your leader, then your spirit heaven denied. No matter what you're trying to do, you can't deny the truth. No. And what the people choose ain't really up to you. Actions always find a way to shine brighter than the things you say. Yeah. People need a healing. Let the Spirit be your guide. And when your heart pour out your blessings, then your people need a healing. Let the Spirit be your guide. And when your heart pour out your blessings.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. And happy Juneteenth. Wow, isn't that exciting? I never thought in my lifetime that I would actually see Juneteenth as a national holiday. I'm so glad that you've all come and stayed for our talk back. We're going to have a really interesting conversation. For those of you who missed the introduction, I'm Judy Tate. I'm the producing artistic director of the American Slavery Project, and I really hope that you enjoyed our live stream tonight of Second Sight. Joining us for our post-show conversation are two of the actors, Meseret Stroman Wheeler and Ryan Hope Travis, and hopefully Ryan's son Resin will stay and offer some insight into what we saw. And a very special scholar and guest, Dr. Cynthia L. Tate, who will talk with us about childhood trauma and its forms, children in foster care, mental health care for minors in rural communities, and our various coping mechanisms. We're going to be talking about that intersection between mental health and spirituality, I guess. There's something else too. I posted today. I can't remember. I sent it so poetically on Facebook. Anyway, before we start, I would like to acknowledge that I am in the northern foot of the Catskills, and I'm calling in from the land that was originally the Lenape people's land, particularly the tribes of the Esopus and the Mohicans. I like to do a land acknowledgement. So, if you have questions for our guests, people out there, please submit them in the live video chat on the homepage at AmericanSlaveryProject.org, and you will be able to rewatch this. You're actually going to be able to rewatch this as of tomorrow night through the month. And then I've got great news. We're going to have all of the Reverberation plays from this season on our website after the conclusion of the run of Second Sight. So I'm really excited by that. And you can use the same password as you used tonight or make a new reservation. Cynthia Tate, hi. Let me you have an incredible bio, and I'm just going to pull some highlights, right? You work with an organization called the Build Initiative, and that's a national effort that advances state work on behalf of children prenatal to 5 and their families and their communities. And you're a state liaison, and I understand that to mean that you help them coordinate their services. Is that accurate?
Yes, so the BUILD has a number of partner states that it works with, and those states have teams that they have put together that are cross systems teams. And what that means is, because in the world of early childhood, there's a lot of fragmentation of service systems and funding streams and all like that. And so what we try to do is put these teams of people together so that they actually begin to build the real relationships with each other that allow them to see the interconnectedness of their work and the potential that they might not have seen before if we were not bringing them together and allowing them to build those relationships and really think about and talk about that cross systems work.
Wow, that's amazing to me. And I want to just say that I want to get through your bio, but let's put a pin in that, because it seems to me that if BUILD's work was happening in the early part of the 21st century, when I set this, then George might have had a better time of in life, right?
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
Yes. Prior to joining BUILD, you were the executive director of the Illinois Governor's Office of Early Childhood Development, and you led other strategic partnerships. And you have been a senior administrator for the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, and I'm very proud of this. You created the first Office of Child Wellbeing. I remember we did that.
I did. Somebody once told me, they asked me later, they said, "You made that up, didn't you?" I said, "Yes, I did, because we needed it."
You sure did, because that department was a little, anyway, they did not have children's well-being forefront in their mind, and you made that happen. And you were a proud graduate of HBCUs. Fisk University. Meseret is a proud graduate of FAMU. Yeah, right. I don't actually know where you went to school.
I went to an HBCU, Fort Valley State.
Oh my God! This is the HBCU panel. Yay! And also, Cindy, you are a mom, a sister, an aunt, and a fierce advocate for the country's most vulnerable children, as I think Resin is, right? You know what, I got to tell you, I am really glad that you brought your son. I really, because your relationship with Resin is, to me, an image of what a father's relationship with a son can be. When we were rehearsing, I could see all that. I'm going to get to you and Meseret's bios in a moment. We're going to focus on George and Mavis for a moment, and their homes and their childhood and the trauma. And people out there who are still with us at this panel, you might notice that Cindy and I kind of look alike. She's my sister. And I actually got the idea to write this play from Cindy, from something she told me. Do you remember what that was, Cindy?
Yes, it was back when I was working at the Department of Children and Family Services here and in Illinois, which, by the way, for land acknowledgement, let me say that I am in Chicago, sitting on the land of the Kikuyu. But at any rate, so I was working for the Department of Children and Family Services, and this case, came my way, and it was so stunning, to me that it just, the visual of it just stayed with me. And I'm sure that, in our conversations, Judy, sometimes I just needed to talk about, some of the more egregious and horrific things that we saw happen to children, or that we read about in case files. And so
what was that visual thing?
Was the holes in the walls. So it was a case of child abuse where, just as you described in the play, this boy had been abused so brutally and repeatedly by his father that when they went in to investigate, they saw all these holes in the walls all over that. I believe they lived in a, mobile home of some sort.
Yeah, yeah. I that was so profoundly disturbing to me that I had to write about it and try to figure out how that could happen. And so, I want to thank you for, sharing that with me. And since we talked about that, in the early part of, this century, something has come up, and that was new, and that's trauma-informed care, right? I mean, this child is traumatized, and yet they don't have any language for that yet.
Right.
Do you want to explain what trauma-informed care is for our audience and why that's important?
Well, let me give the clearest example that I can always give for what it means to look at people, children, their parents, families through a trauma lens. And that is a quote from Dr. Bruce Perry, which says, when you look at people through a trauma lens, you stop asking what's wrong with them and you begin to ask what happened to them. And so, so thinking about George, right? And in fact, Mavis as well. Actually, you could think about the mother, the whole, all of them really were traumatized. There was domestic violence. When the father was beating up the mother and got done with her and moved on to George, and then just the constant witnessing of all this violence by Mavis, just traumatized all of them. But then, when Rev came along, he didn't ask what happens to you. He asked what's wrong with you. And so they found something wrong with George, Well, he had the bipolar, he had the second sight. He had these things that made something, wrong with him that justified putting him in this place, Hilltop.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got to Hilltop, he ended up going back and forth between Hilltop and all these foster homes. Is that accurate?
Yeah,
in your experience?
it is, unfortunately. I mean, it's really one of the saddest parts of working in child welfare is watching the children, once they come into care, have multiple placement changes. They move from one foster home to another, or from a residential to a foster home and back to the residential and back, and all of that disruption, right? All of that disruption does nothing but compound the trauma for which they were already brought into the system. And so it just goes on. I can remember a 5-year-old that came to our attention in our early childhood screening program that we had, and that child had been already moved 5 times. I think maybe more than 5 or 6, in his 5 years of life.
Oh.
And so when that happens to children, first of all, they learn that definitely something's wrong with me, right? Because nobody can love me because they keep giving me away again and again and again, over and over. So over and over, you've got the pain of that separation and what that separation does to children psychologically. And with young children, it's particularly dangerous because when you start separating young children, particularly during those first 5 years of life, then and really even the first 3 years, we like to talk about the first 1,000 days. A child's brain architecture is being formed during that period of time, and the brain architecture is formed best in the context of a caring relationship with an adult. I mean, so we are literally hardwired for relationship, right? Literally, and we develop we develop optimally when that kind of relationship is in place. Now, when you think about taking little ones out of their home and moving them back and forth, or even when you think about getting back to your play, think about George. George was 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any reason to believe that all of those holes in the walls were made like this year.
Right.
This started some long time ago.
Right. George says something about that, right, Ryan? He says,
Yeah. It took about a decade for all the walls to have more holes than plaster.
Mm.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So all of his little childhood, that's all he knew.
Oh my God.
It's
So,
heartbreaking.
so we were talking a little bit, and I was really interested to note that, one of the things that you were saying is that there's a psychological explanation for his second sight, as well as the psychic explanation of his second sight. And I was playing with that in the play. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, and he alludes to it as well. The character does, which of course you know because you wrote it. But just saying. But really, one of the characteristics of trauma is hypervigilance, right? So this is when a child will be watching everything. They will see and notice and be particularly attentive to things that maybe other people aren't seeing. Well, they have to do this because they're never feeling safe, right? They're never feeling safe. They don't know, when the danger is coming. They don't know when's that backhand slap coming. When is that head in the wall going to happen? So there is a hypervigilance that develops in traumatized children, and that could be taken as the character said, well, I didn't have to have any second sight to see that, whatever. There were several examples that
Right.
you guys can spell out those examples better than I can. But there were several examples where he said, look, I was just looking. I just saw things.
Right. Yeah, that fascinated me, to create that, that double illusion, and before we go on, and I'm going to ask the actors about that double illusion and what kind of choices they had to make in order to play those people. But there was something that you told me that I put in the play about making money on these kids, and something they get paid a beyond medical necessity rate. Is this something that still happens, and what would be some of the alternatives to the kind of treatment, if you could call going up to Hilltop treatment? What are some of the alternatives today?
Well, there are a couple of things today. For one thing, there is something called therapeutic foster care. And in therapeutic foster care, the foster family is given really intensive training on how to manage children who have been traumatized, on dealing with challenging behaviors, on dealing with emotional dysregulation, which is another aspect of trauma. And so they're trained in these kinds of things, and then they are sort of wrapped in support services as well. So they have people to go to and people who come in and do the therapy with the children, but also support the parent or the parents who are in the home. And so therapeutic foster care is, a wonderful alternative to either the residential treatment and long psychiatric hospital stays as well.
Yeah.
And then also the other good news about things progressing is that we have telepsychiatry now. We have telehealth. We have telemedicine.
Teletheater.
We have teletheater. We have everything thanks to the pandemic, right? So this is really important because in the rural areas, as you wrote, there wasn't a psychiatrist for miles and miles and miles and miles and years. So with telepsychiatry, that takes that actually also brings another set of eyes in. Let's say he was living in a foster home or he was even at Hilltop. If you had an external telepsychiatry, opportunity, then you could have somebody else looking at what's going on there.
Yes.
So there's something, so anyway, there are at least those two things that give reason for hope.
Oh, that's great. That's exciting. You know, and I placed it in downstate Illinois, and a lot of people don't, because Illinois, they know Chicago, right? And that's north and da da da. But Illinois is a long state, and when you're down at the bottom of Illinois, you might as well be in Kentucky, right? I mean, you're in the South, right? And you know, I'm going to talk a little bit about our southern roots in a second. And you know, Meseret, you and Ryan both grew up in the South, and Cindy and I grew up in Chicago. But one of the things, you know, people brought things up with them. They brought ideas and they brought beliefs. And one of the things that we experienced growing up was the fact that our grandfather was a doctor, right? And, you know, so he was immersed in the medical world. And our grandmother, Cindy, well, Cindy can tell you the kinds of things she did.
Yes. Well, do you really want me to tell you?
Yeah.
I mean, she predicted events with cards, and she did Ouija boards. I mean, she actually predicted events that occurred. She had accurate predictions with cards. She spoke regularly to spirits. You know, and we can remember, I'm sure, a couple in particular. So this was sort of just a part of our life growing up, right?
You know, doctors, psychics. Hey,
okay, it all works.
I remember Nanny. I was just trying to remember. Nanny was working the Ouija board one night, and it told her that my grandfather wasn't coming home, and to answer the phone. And it turns out he had been arrested. You know, traffic stop. Right. This is historic. And she knew because of, you know, the Ouija board. And also we had a home in the country that was inhabited by the ghost, right? Old Man Russell.
The original owner.
The stairs would creak at night at about bedtime. My grandparents would go, "Oh, that's Old Man Russell." And in the morning you could smell coffee.
That's
and
right.
bacon.
But remember,
everybody was up.
This was not just our grandmother's, you know, imagining. This was a communal. Oh yeah, I hear that. We, you know, so this was a part of our life, and so I think for a lot of Black people, we, you know, when you hear that saying, you know, there's a thin veil, I think we've all heard that. All of our grandparents have said that, or our parents have said that, and you know, at some point or another. And I think that we have a great ability to hold both the world of the seen and the world of the unseen together. You know, not feeling as one has to cancel the other out, or you know, if we go this way with the seen and the science, then we have to denigrate the unseen and the spiritual. We don't have to make those kinds of choices. We can live with both of those and benefit from both of those.
Yeah.
Now, I remember.
Go ahead.
Let's say to that point of the spirit world, that I believe it was my grandfather's funeral, and the priest said, you know, now you have someone you can pray to. Pray for this person. They are your angel. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, that's along the same lines of it's that thin veil. And yeah, I have another experience.
Those are the people that become the ancestors.
That's right. I grew up in. No, please, I'm sorry, Judy.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, in my family, they were deeply conservative Christian. So the idea of ghosts or anything was like anti-God. But there were moments that they couldn't deny, but they would frame as angels. For example, the story that I've heard many, many times, my great-grandma, she had 15 kids, and there was no food. And my great-grandma remembers a guy coming in with golden skin and blonde hair and had 2 bags of groceries and said, everything is going to be okay. And the food was enough. They cooked for the family, and it was such a moving experience for her that she told everybody, and of course it was like, oh, that was an angel though. That was an angel. Everything, like that was a good one. So even within like very clear delineations of this is good and bad spirit, they also understood that there were some things that's unexplainable, you know, and the best way to explain it is to call it an angel.
Yes.
Wow, wow. Well, let me introduce you guys professionally to our audience, and we'll keep talking about these ghostly-like things. Ryan, you are an actor and a director and a filmmaker, and this is your third play of mine. We love you, Ryan. And you've performed in numerous plays and independent films. I saw you on HBO's Watchmen. You had a really lovely cameo on that. You're also in Swamp Murders, Dead Silent, many, many things. I remember you got commissioned by the New York State Council of the Arts to write and perform a show called A Shout in Salty Water, a one-man show based on interviews with 17 low-income African-American fathers up in Syracuse, New York. And you have 10, as a filmmaker, you have 10 short films to your credit, with several having their world premieres at film festivals in New York City, Austin, Miami, Los Angeles, and the Academy Award qualifying Atlanta Film Festival. Your feature film, Coco, in Dark, is currently in post-production. You got your MFA from the University of Florida and an MA in Pan-African Studies from Syracuse University. You are a Broadway World CNY Best Actor in a Play nominee and a proud member of SAG-AFTRA. And you can see Ryan and Meseret on ASP's YouTube channel in my play Fast Blood, which we did a couple of years ago outdoors.
Yeah.
And it's also very exciting. And Meseret Strongman Wheeler, my partner extraordinaire, you are not only an incredible actress, but the social, but my associate producer, right? Social media manager, and sometimes actor voiceover artist with American Slavery Project. You are currently on, Fast Blood, right, on our YouTube channel. And Black Women in the Ballot, playing Mary Church Terrell. Yes, you're fabulous in that role as well. You've performed at DC's Arena Stage and New York City's Roundabout Theater Company, in Charles Randolph Wright's Blue, at Delaware Theater Company and Massachusetts Stage West in August Wilson's Joe Turner's Come and Gone. Yay, that's where we met. The Negro Ensemble Company in Just a Night Out by Susan Watson Turner, and As a Usual Suspect at New York Theater Workshop. Among your TV appearances are The Sopranos, Another World, Law and Order, a host of national on-camera and voiceover commercials, and video games. You are an Adelco Award winner. Yay! And was featured as a fresh face on Broadway.com. And you were recently named a present-day change maker. Your theater degree is from HBCU Florida A&M University, where you were initiated into the AKAs, which is really ironic because Mary Church Terrell was a Delta, but that's another play. And so we're going to just throw this all out there. So, I don't know what the audience is wondering or asking, but what kind of decisions did you have to make, Ryan, to, in the play? Were you dead?
I know, right? I've been, okay, so the pandemic has done a lot for many of us. It's brought us closer to ourselves. We've had an opportunity to do some self-discovery, some cleansing, some self-inventory. And this has also given me an opportunity to really connect with spirit, connect with, that universal force, the source, right? Mm-hmm. And in doing so, I've come to understand that there is this undeniable power that exists within us. We can call it gut, we can call it intuition. If you're in the church, you call it Holy Spirit, right? But that thing exists within us. There is this knowing that exists in us. And so some of us, if we fully tap into that source, we could frame it as a psychic, right? Or we have it, right? Say, for example, Judy, you and I, we go on a road trip and we end up getting a flat tire. We're on the side of the road, and you're like, something told me to check this tire, right? That something is a knowing, right? But we frame it as a coincidence. You got that skill.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because he's very human in his, in his need to have to have her wake up, to have her, come out of this,
To shake her, right?
to shake her, And I was thinking about that. I was thinking, he when he tells the story about how he put the sheet around his neck and jumped, right? And Mim's voice, that moment of grace. And then he said that the Bruja taught him to walk in the world. And so either he didn't die that night, and that Bruja that he was working in Hilltop taught him as a human being to walk in the world, or he met the Bruja as spirit and he taught him to walk in the world. Either way, somebody who is spiritually connected taught him to walk into the world. And so, because there's no reason that I would believe Reverend Baxter when Reverend Baxter tells Mavis that he's dead, right? Why would I believe him? But then again, he might be, and that's why Reverend Baxter has blood on his hands.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
The way I thought about it was, I decided that when he was connecting with the Bruja was the spirit, right? So he was seeing and having these conversations, playing chess, and in these therapy sessions with the spirit, right? So when grandmom says, "Hey, I'm gonna send somebody," she's not sending a physical person, right? She's sending her homie who's like right next door, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so I imagine he did survive that event, but passed later on, not because of anything connected to that, but he was very much in physical form. But by the time he connects with the sister, it's too late. Like he's made some life choices that have ultimately had him transition, I think. That's how I was playing it.
Do you think that at the end that she's transitioned too? Do you know? We find out that she's much more sick than we'd even thought in the beginning. What do you, Mez?
Yeah, for me, I was playing it with her being so traumatized through her life. She had no one to talk to about this. The mother had died from drinking. Reverend Baxter took her over, or, he had guardianship over her, which means that she probably had no family around to help her. She wanted to have this good life with Reverend Baxter, so there was nothing and even if she wanted to try to leave, Reverend Baxter had over her that she killed their father.
Right.
So she had no one to consult. She was in her own world, and I think, so me playing him dead, playing George dead, was that she had to have, she went inside she went inside. This was her world. She was talking to him. He had passed on. She was talking to him, but she was so ill. I do think that by the end, she had transitioned. Let's turn this card together. She was dying. Right?
Right.
Yeah, she
Yeah, you just reminded me of something I heard yesterday, that in the process of dying, the people around you are irrelevant. They're, the people that are sitting by your deathbed are not as relevant as where you're going and dealing. Where did I hear
Well, you
that?
know what? I was going to say something to that I've heard several instances where people have been on their way to the other side, and people around in the room, but but the person who is about to pass sees someone in the corner, and they're talking to them, and it's a spirit from a family member or something, and they're telling the people, oh well, they're right there. Yes, and so there's that. yeah, I'm just piggybacking.
Absolutely, and I think about that with the end of this, and you know, somebody in our audience said here the spiritual and ghostly feeling of the play was fantastic. The actors are terrific storytellers, and I think you are. And I also, you guys haven't heard it before. This is the first time you heard it since we recorded it, right?
Yes.
Simone, I gotta give Simone Barros, who
Yes.
designed the sound, and along with Zach Batanti, who designed the visuals. It is just arresting, the space that she creates of you guys in this boarded up place that's cold and rainy, and just heightens this sense that, you know, you guys are in another world, not the soap. Cute. Yeah. It was, I mean, when we recorded it, it was amazing, but with all of the sound, you know, going on, and, you know, even Reverend Baxter, when he comes, he's off, and then he tears down the boards to get in there, and you think he had to tear down all those boards. How did she just walk in? Right? Yeah. Somebody else says, that was so powerful. Thank you for sharing your amazing work with us, and congrats to everyone who helped put it together. I did not expect that wonderful ending. I'm so glad people were surprised. I enjoyed everything about it. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because remember, Judy, you and I were talking early on about this, that we were talking about that. You said, yeah, 3 characters in the play. And I said, 3 characters? Okay, I must have read it wrong. Let me go back and reread it. And I read it again, and I said, Judy, there are only 2 characters in the play. You said, oh, wait, no. There's you have the old version. Wait, I got to send you the new version. And so when I got the new version, the ending, oh, my God, it just, pulled at me.
Yeah.
Thank you for the wonderful script. You know,
that
was a strong script.
It's really powerful. Yeah. What did you guys take to you know, that he had blood on his hands? What did you guys take that to mean?
No, please, Meseret, I'm sorry.
No. I was going to say it had to do, for me, it had to do with all of the ill gains that he had from the children that were up at the Hilltop and then at foster care. But Hilltop made me think of, I mean, this is a bad light on, but, you know, in the beginning, nobody really knew about homes or hospitals that were psychiatric hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
And in Florida, there was a really bad one, Chattahoochee. And I remember reading about it. They had, an area for Black people and an area for white people. It wasn't segregated. And, you know, they were putting people in for epilepsy, menopause. This is before they knew. But
yeah, if you were having menopause, you probably, she got the bipolar.
Right.
Yeah, for real.
Right.
You know?
But anyway, it's just it was in a bad light, just like Hilltop. It just made me think of,
Yeah. I thought of that too. I just thought of all of George asked if he on the inside, then there is blood on his hands for your life, for your very life. Mm-hmm. Do you know? I mean, for both of them. Yeah. I like to think about things that way in sort of imagistic or symbolic terms. I think it's so interesting, Ryan, that you do this work with fathers. You created this show with fathers. And it's almost like some of those fathers, were probably dysfunctional. Some of them were healthy, and now you're doing this play on, about the child, the child.
Yeah, I had to think deeply about that when I was working on my first one-man show. So I have 2 one-man shows, and I just finished the 1 act, and they're part of a series of plays I'm calling the Father-Son Play Cycle. And when I was working on my first one-man show, I got a grant to go down to DC and interview non-participant fathers. The streets will call it deadbeat, but psychology and social science data calls it non-custodial, non-participatory fatherhood. And so, I got this grant to go interview these dads and, compile their stories into a play. And the dramaturg asked me, "Why are you doing this play?" I was like, "Oh, it'd be cool, to make this one-man show to tell this story because these men's narrative isn't told." And he was like, "But why?" And I was like, "It'd be fun to play. I haven't done a one-man show yet at the time." He was like, "But why?" And what he was really asking me, and I had to really meditate on that, was why tell this story at this time? And what the truth was, in the source was, I was trying to figure out why my dad left. Right? I was trying to ask these strangers why they left to try to answer why my dad left. And so once I had that aha moment, then the play became about Ryan, this 8-year-old kid, trying to figure out why his dad left. And so when I had that aha moment, I was able to unapologetically say, "Hey, this is why I'm coming to this work like this." And now that I'm a dad, this will be my second Father's Day on Sunday. There's something so, this is the most complete learning lesson of my life, and I understand why a man would run from it, because it literally is unpacking, it's tearing away, it's searing at parts of yourself and exposing parts of yourself that if you're not ready to just walk into, the easiest thing to do is just to walk away and close your ears and shut your eyes. But this is my long answer to your observation.
No, I love it. I love it. I knew you guys would be like, just fascinated. Somebody says here, blood on his hands, I thought was Mavis seeing the evil in him as she was dying. I mean, that she couldn't see it up until that moment. Because, she came in talking about, well, it's and then George is like, you're lying to yourself. And then finally, she can see what George sees. We have really smart audience members. Have we told you that before? Our audiences are very smart. And what else? Do you agree with Ezra? I love that she said that.
Yeah.
The sound performances and content were all amazing, and I love the policy connection. What a great use of Cynthia's real story. Yeah, that's one of the things that we really try to do here at the American Slavery Project. It's not just entertainment, but we want the conversations to be, to have people. Oh, I've got it. Okay. Brenda says, I can't find the chat function, but I have stuff I want to say. Okay. Hi, Brenda. We want you to think more deeply. We want people to be entertained, but we want the conversations to go further. But we want them to be conversations you can take out with your own community. And if you have, if you can do something about something, then, do something. So Brenda wants to know, Mavis and George are both traumatized. Seems each is coping in their own way. Rich, dense play. So much to consider. Sitting with a psychotherapist who supervised therapeutic foster care in California also makes me think about what trauma is. Yes. So much to say about that. Yeah. And why are we just in this decade really learning to speak about that?
Well, because somebody, namely Dr. Bruce Perry, I keep naming him, but he's just changed the way that we look at families and children and what happens to them, and how we end up. If you start with adulthood and you start asking the question of, why are so many adults having mental health issues? Then you have to start going backwards, right? And so when you start going backwards, you go into trauma, you go into early childhood experiences, so
And then you go into generational experiences. So
Yeah.
people might say, why? What is this play doing being produced by the American Slavery Project, right? Well, all of these plays, including this play, have their roots in America's original sin. And the way I think about that, especially like with this play, I used to ask my grandparents, our grandparents, if I'm not mistaken, their older brothers and sisters were actually born into the institution of enslavement, and the younger ones were born on the other, just outside of it. I think that's right. But I used to ask them about it and tell me stories. And the older generation would just go, you don't want to know about that old mess. They wouldn't talk about it. And of course, now that I'm, old, I can go, oh, they were all traumatized. Yeah. Maya Angelou, Brenda says, this is great. Brenda, can I tell you, I'm so glad you're here. Maya Angelou was freed from trauma by literature. Yes. Art, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Thank you, Brenda. And I feel that way. I feel like art is our way of freeing ourselves. Do you know? I don't know. I felt somehow that this child's story being told was somehow freeing. And the stories from the era of enslavement, but also where these horrors echo.
Yeah, because I just want to point out this brief point, which is that in both the way that child welfare systems are set up today and in slavery, family separation was the keystone in both systems. Family separation. And when you have family separation, we have separate children from their parents, then you have trauma. Now, there was a whole lot of other trauma in slavery, but taking just that one, component, so it is a reverberation.
Yes.
Corporal
punishment is a reverberation.
That is a reverberation.
When you separate families and the only thing that people can see in the system in which they live is that punishment happens through the rod, right?
Yeah.
Then even after that situation, right? Then, and the Christian connection, spare the rod, spoil the child. Then we have a lot of families raising children with dysfunctional forms of behavior modification. Is that a way to say that?
Yeah, that's a very good way to say that. And when sometimes when folks try to speak out about that and say, corporal punishment for children is not a good thing, it is a bad thing, you stop doing it, you would be amazed at the pushback that comes from certain corners of our communities, that just, you hear things like, people take it as a personal insult. Well, my mama beat me and I'm just fine.
Right.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. But
made me go out and get my own switch.
Right, and that kind of thing. So really, it's like post-slavery trauma syndrome.
Right.
But there's another way of saying that. I messed up the order of the words, but anyway.
Post-slave PTSD, post-traumatic slavery syndrome.
There we go.
Oh, here's a question to the actors. How did you forge such a powerful performance of the brother and sister through an audio visual drama? How did that, because usually you have each other's face to play off of. So how did you guys do that?
We kind of did, though. We did it through Zoom, but we were able to see each other while we were doing it, and because I feel like we've worked together before, so we know each other. But and of course, you know, when you've got a strong script, then that makes it easy too.
Yeah, and then also exactly what Meseret said. We had the opportunity to work together for a full summer, and we had already had this bond. And in that play, we were brother and sister. No, was it? No, it was.
No.
It was. She was the big sister figure that my character had fallen in love with.
Right.
Yeah.
You were brother to her
husband.
Exactly.
We were family.
Yes, we were connected.
In a different way.
Right.
And so in preparation for this play, it was a no-brainer. It was great because Meseret hit me up and was like, hey. So we spent about an hour and a half, a few weeks ahead of the time we actually went into film. So we had at least 3 sessions that we had connected already. And then by the time we had rehearsal, it was recalibrating because it's definitely different when we have a director. So yeah, it was great. And then by the time we went to film, we had already heard each other's voice so much. And for us, when we rehearsed, just the two of us and Ed, we didn't have Zoom. We just used our phones. And for me, it was super, super helpful not being able to see her, but only be able to take in what I was hearing. So by the time we went to film, it felt like it was a part of our process.
Mm-hmm. And it added something too, I think, during the recording of the Zoom. And of course, with Melissa's direction to really kind of hone it in.
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to Melissa Maxwell. She's my longtime collaborator. She's worked, yay! She directed 2 of the plays in this series, The Haunted Files and Second Sight. And she directed Unheard Voices as well, which was our very first original play that we produced at American Slavery Project. We're going to wrap up now. I want to thank everybody for coming. You guys were a wonderful, wonderful panel and brilliant actors. And I'm sorry the conversation was a little too adult for Resin. He probably had to go to bed.
I know. I had to put his butt to bed. It was too much.
Well, we loved him. And he's, you know, the 2 times we've met him, he's such a charmingly engaging and brilliant child. And before we wrap up, there's one more thing from Brenda. Feels like Mavis is healing herself through her summoning George as she transitions. We're applauding. And I'd say that is a yes, and that's a wonderful, wonderful note. That yes. Thank you, Brenda. Oh, Brenda, I've known each other since my first professional job. Yay, Brenda Thomas, I love you. Thank you for that. Thanks, everybody, for coming. And, oh, yes. Be sure to catch all the Reverberation plays from this season on our website at the conclusion of the run of Second Sight. As of tomorrow night, it will be available to you on demand. So if you missed the first part, or you want to see it again, or you want to bring friends or tell your friends, you can rewatch it with tonight's password that you got. 5 ASP SS. Okay. Young Park is going to kill me for having done that.
Yes, that was a good thing,
Also, but since I did that, and please donate. Let me check. This is the American Slavery Project. Nobody works for free. We pay our actors double the union scale. We pay an honorarium to our people that come on to be on the panels. We pay the technical producers. People get paid here, and our grants are slim. We got 10% of what we applied to for, say to the Black Seed. I'm not complaining. Thank you, Black Seed. Thank you. But along with your ticket sales, we would love it if you would go to the American Slavery Project and donate to us, because We are the American Slavery Project, and like I said, we pay more than Walmart. And what else? We hope to see you soon. We're going to play the Reverberation Series till the end of the year, because I'm going back to graduate school. So I won't be producing in the fall. Yeah, I want to get to be as smart as Ryan. He's got all those master's degrees, and Cindy's got that.
Judy, you going back to school? What you?
I am.
What's the program?
I'm going to NYU to study arts politics.
All right. So I'm starting in the fall for my PhD at Florida State. Yeah. So we'll be students together.
Oh, that's great. Okay, I'm gonna be hitting you up, going, I can't take all this homework.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Okay, social media plugs. Slavery Proj on Instagram and Twitter. And Facebook, ASP 2012.
Right.
Donation, Instagram. I love you, audience, fans. Thank you so much for coming. You have a great summer. Thanks, Cindy, Meseret, Ryan.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
When your people need your teaching, let your vision be your guide. But if your money be your leader, then your power be divine. Oh yeah. When your people build your vision, let your teaching be on high. If your power be your leader, then your spirit heaven denied. No matter what you're trying to do, you can't deny the truth. No. And what the people choose ain't really up to you. Actions always find a way to shine brighter than the things you say. People need a healing. Let the Spirit be your guide. And when your heart pour out your blessings, then your people